Welcome and welcome back to Really Legal. I'm attorney Ethan Bearman. Today was day 10 of the Trump criminal trial in Manhattan. The defense was cross-examining and right-wing commentators went wild. I'll give you the good, the bad, and what's next. But before we go into what happened inside the courtroom today, what's fascinating to me is what happened outside the courtroom. Take a listen to this.
What do you think about the Davidson testimony?
Well, I'm not allowed to testify. I'm under a gag order, I guess. Right? I can't even testify on that.
Mr. Very Stable Genius is not a genius at all.
No, that's other people that do that. I don't. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
And what's so interesting about that piece to me isn't just what Donald Trump said to the press, right? I mean, obviously, the gag order has nothing to do with him testifying. The gag order is specific to him out on social media, giving interviews to the press, etc., saying things that would be intimidating potentially to jurors, to witnesses, to court staff and their families, that would lead to threats against any of them. That's what the gag order is about. It has nothing to do with him testifying. As a matter of fact, let me say it this way. Mr. Trump, if you're listening to me right now, hear my voice. I think it'd be great. It would be such a wonderful way for you to clear your name to get on the stand and testify. I think it would be beautiful. It would be bigly. It would be the most amazing thing. That would be the greatest testimony the American people have ever heard, would be to hear you testify in your own defense at this criminal trial, so you could show those jurors and DA Alvin Bragg and Judge Merchan just how brilliant and very stably geniusy you are. Please, please. The reality is this. Obviously, the defense does not want him to testify. That would be pretty wild, as a matter of fact. But the other thing that I thought was really interesting about what happened outside the courtroom is that Todd Blanche, Donald Trump's attorney, his lead attorney in this case, was so obsequious, nodding and smiling at former President Trump standing there. Oh, of course, yeah, you can't testify because of the gag order. I mean, what? You can say to your client, hey, no, you can still testify, dude. I don't want you to testify. But this idea that every one of his attorneys, this is the impression I have, just must kowtow, be obsequious. Oh, Mr. Trump, oh, you're so wonderful. Oh, please. Good Lord. That doesn't mean that we're kind and we're thoughtful toward our clients in general. We should be. We're counselors. We need to be sensitive to their needs. But in this case, he's saying that's just flat out wrong. You can go, no, you can testify, Mr. Trump. But yeah, the gag order, you shouldn't talk about that. The gag order says you shouldn't talk about what that reporter just asked you. All right, let's get into the courtroom and what happened today on day 10 of this incredible trial that is underway. It wasn't the most exciting day of testimony, but it was important. And I am going to point out where I think the right-wing commentators are wrong about this, and even some mainstream reporters, about what happened. Today was the cross-examination of Karen McDougal and Stormy Daniels, a.k.a. her real name is Stephanie Clifford, their attorney, Keith Davidson, who's from here in L.A., and he represented them in these deals where he negotiated their price for somebody else to buy the story and to then kill it. So he did his job negotiating a deal. I love that people make such a big issue, and the defense really tried today to impeach him in front of the jury. Oh, what do you think about extortion? Weren't you trying to extort? Do you know what the law is for extortion? Look, Keith Davidson is an intelligent attorney. He knew what he was doing. He cut them off at the knees. So I don't think that was very good impeachment cross-examination. I think jurors are way smarter than that. And by the way, why is nobody talking about the fact that if you think that what Keith Davidson did is extortion, which it is absolutely not, by the way, then what do you think about people? And look, I love Gloria Allred. I absolutely have unbelievable respect for her. I think it's so important, the work that she does. I can't say enough how much I love Gloria Allred. I really do. But that's what she does. Somebody's had allegedly something happen to them in a workplace. She goes, she negotiates, she gets them a settlement. And often that will include things like an NDA, that they're not going to go out and talk about it too much more. They put a little public pressure on, she gets the settlement. This is the way things work. Keith Davidson, from what I could tell, didn't do anything wrong. They did bring up something about a bar suspension very briefly, a decade plus ago. I don't know the detail of that, but if it was a short suspension, it was nothing too serious. He rectified it. He hasn't had anything else in his record since then. That doesn't mean I would ever want to practice what Keith Davidson was doing with Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal, or exactly what Gloria Allred and others do. Again, that's important work, just not mine. That's not what I do. So I practice in other areas of law. But Keith Davidson, I thought, did a very good job. He's an intelligent attorney of stopping their attacks. But the right is making a big deal of the fact that Charlie Sheen, well, didn't you negotiate a catch and kill with Charlie Sheen? That there was a woman who was accusing him? What about all these other famous people that you negotiated settlements for? That's what happens is, hey, I have somebody here who's accusing you of doing something wrong. And often you don't want to go to trial with that. So you enter into a settlement. This happens all the time. Maybe not specific to sex with a porn star like Stephanie Clifford, or repeatedly having sex allegedly with a Playboy playmate, Karen McDougal. Those are not, I don't think those are day-to-day occurrences. But it's amazing to me how many people have situations like that have to be negotiated into a settlement. But that does not, I think jurors are way too smart. They see right through this. And again, the other thing that the defense did today in their cross-examination and attempting to impeach Keith Davidson is they played some old tapes from 2018 of Michael Cohen wrongfully recording his conversation with Keith Davidson without Keith Davidson's permission. California is a two-party state. You have to have, if you're talking to somebody from California and you want to record their conversation, you need to have their permission. Otherwise, it cannot be used as evidence against them in a trial. It can be used to refresh their recollection of events, which is what they were doing today. But Michael Cohen not saying that Donald Trump specifically told him to pay for something doesn't mean Donald Trump didn't give an order earlier that we're going to hear from Michael Cohen soon enough here, where he said, hey, let's keep these stories on the down low. I want you to go take care of this stuff, like David Pecker already testified to. I think the prosecution's doing a very solid job so far in this case. My one concern that I have for the prosecution is based on the OJ case and others, where if prosecution takes too long, goes too deep, doesn't keep it short enough, the jurors, and nowadays even worse than the late 90s when OJ was in trial, or mid 90s when OJ was in his trial for murder, we have a shorter attention span. You got to get to it. I understand you have to lay the foundation, and they had one of those at the very end of the day today, but they got to get to it. But these jurors are smart enough. They're going to understand Donald Trump doesn't have to micromanage everything, even though David Pecker did say Donald Trump likes to micromanage. He just had to give the order, hey, you guys go out and kill these stories to help my election, and then wrongfully falsify my business records if I'm Donald Trump. That's what the prosecution has to prove. So the good, the bad, what's next? The good, I think the prosecution's strong. I think the testimony is working in their favor. Have they met the burden of proof yet beyond a reasonable doubt? No. They still need Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen. And then we'll get there. We'll see if they get there, right? So what's bad? If this is day 10 of the trial, if this takes too long, jurors can start to become impatient, and they can start losing their attention span abilities. I mean, look, Donald Trump had his eyes closed again this afternoon. He claims he was listening. I don't know who you want to believe. Do you think he was sleeping again? Give me your comments below. I love your comments, by the way. I absolutely do. So what's next? Tomorrow, day 11 of the trial, Friday, May 3rd, 2024. We're going to get more testimony. It's going to be a shortened day again. One of the jurors has to leave. They're wrapping at 3:45 Eastern tomorrow, and we'll see what happens. Boy, I really, really love your comments down below. I really hope you're sharing these videos. Do not keep them to yourself. Share them with others. Hit that like button. Smash the subscribe button. Really appreciate you watching the videos and giving me your comments. I am attorney Ethan Bearman. This is Really Legal on the Really American Network.